Daf Nun Gimel Amud Beis will begin at Daf Nun Gimel Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the bottom. We learned earlier that it's also for a person to say that this basar is for Pesach, that he's designating this meat for Pesach because it has the appearance of being makdash behema for a korban and eating kosher b'chutz. By basar we cannot do it. We can't designate it for Pesach. Meisvel ask your kash. Amar Rav Yosef says, Titus, who was a leader in Rome, Hinig as B'nai Rami, he instituted a custom, a minig, for the people of Rome, to eat roasted meat, the roasted kid, with the mekulosim, with the kirbayim, with the entrails. The korban pesach is supposed to be eaten with its roasted and kirbal krov, with the feet and the entrails and the innards. And he instituted this minig that as a seicher for the korban pesach, that's the way they should eat the meat Pesach night. Shalcholoi the chacham sent him ilmolei Titus altaf, not for the fact that you're a Titus, such a chashuv person, we'd be geyser acherim on you. Why shatamachal is Yisrael kochim b'chutz? Because you're causing the people of Yisrael to eat kochim, the korbanos, outside of Yerushalayim. In fact, it's not kochim. They weren't designating it as a korban. They didn't makdash it as a korban. Ela ema korav lahachal Yisrael kochim b'chutz. Not that it was kochim, but it's korav. It's close to being machal kochim b'chutz because it has the appearance of a korban. So what's the kasha? The objection is because this was gedimu kolosim. Mekulas in, only because it was a mekulas, shem mekulas loy. It was only because it was mekulas. It was literally like armored, like the korban pesach has the kirbayim, the entrails, hanging next to it, like armor. So therefore, the objection is only because it was a mekulas. If it would be mekulas, then they would not object, even though it's being designated for pesach, it's a roasted meat. Omre, they say no. Mekulas, the objection is in both cases. Omri mekulas, if it's mekulas, loishna omar, loishna loy omar. Whether they designate it, they said this for Pesach, or if they didn't say it, it's a problem because it resembles the korban Pesach. So the objection would be there even if they didn't state anything. But it's shein mekulas. If it's not mekulas, then pirishin loy pirish loy. Even if it's not a mekulas, it'd still be a problem, but only if it's pirish, only if they designate it for Pesach. But if they did designate for Pesach, it would be a problem. It would be awesome. Ravacha masim lahamas nitzin kerushimin. He has a Racha learned it differently. We learned that this memra is that the Brisa says Amar Rabbi Yosi, that Titus ish Rami. He said in the name of Rabbi Yosi. Rav Acha learned it in the name of Rav Shimon. According to the version that we learned, that it's Rav Yosi, and Rav Yosi is the one who stated it, and he objected, and the practice was objectable. And we understand it, that he says that he reported it as saying that the Chum said that you're korah to be mach kochim b'chutz. But according to the one who learned it according to Rav Shimon, does this fit? Is it so? Is it really objectionable? Is it really a problem? Rav Shimon poiter shalois nada kederechem is nadvim. We know that Rav Shimon's shita is if a person is minad something in an improper way, it's not chal. So therefore, if a person makes an nadava, he says he wants this barley to be for a minchas nadava. Now, you cannot bring so'irim, you cannot bring barley for a mincha, for a nadava. It doesn't come for a nadava, for a minchas nadava. So therefore, Rav Shimon says that it's not a neder. It's not a neder, it's not a nadava, because shlo yisnadav kederechem yisnadav. Now, there's a machlokes, the Chachamim argue over there, and they say that no, if a person says that, he says, Hare zu mincha and mincha sa'irim, they say that the person is nitzvos, that at the beginning of his statement, and he's nitfas at the beginning what he said, so it's a mincha. and we disregard the last part of the statement of Seder. So he's making an adova for a mincha. We disregard the last part of the statement. But Rav Shimon says, Rav Shimon holds, af b'gemar dvarav adam nitvas. We can't disregard the last part of the statement, and therefore, since we accept the last part of the statement, you can't bring an adova from a soirim for a mincha, so it's not an eder. So here also, the meat, you can't designate it at the time of roasting for a korban. It's not the time so it's like a derech hamiznadvim. And so therefore, they first of all, they didn't designate it for a korban. And even if they would, it's a time where it's already meat, it's already roasted, so it's shalei yisnadav kederech hamiznadvim, so it would be invalid anyway. So what would be the problem? So how can you say that it's going according to Rav Shimon? This report was, Rav Shimon was reporting it. Elaman damasik Rav Shimon v'alchanan Rav Shimon poiter shalei yisnadav kederech hamiznadvim. So l'cher, there wouldn't be a problem. Well, even if you learn like Rav Yossi, even according to Rav, does it fit? Would it still be a problem? Rav Shimon Beshitas Rav Yossi Amar Damar Af B'Gemar Dvorav Adam Nitvas, that Rav Shimon holds like Rav Yossi, that a person when he has two statements, and the opening statement and the end statement seem to contradict each other, that they hold that he's af b'gmar dvorav adam nitvas. You can't disregard the second statement, even if it contradicts the opening statement, and therefore you're bound by it. So the case that they're discussing is if a person says, "Harezet tmuras oila tmuras shlomim," so it's either an oila or it's a shlomim. So according to the Chachamim, betchilas dvar adam nitvas. So you accept the first statement and disregard the last statement. But they hold you can't disregard the last statement. So what do? If a person says it's tmuras oila, tmuras shlomim, you wait till the behemoth, let it graze till it gets a mum, and you sell it, and the proceeds go for both an oila shlomim, because you can't disregard the second statement. So therefore, since we see that Rav Shimon holds like Rav Yossi, let us assume that Rav Yossi holds like Rav Shimon, and therefore, in this case over here, you'd say that he would also agree that Shaloi Yisnadav Kederech HaMisnadvim, and therefore the neder is not binding. So my lami Rav Shimon, so look Rav Yossi, Rav Yossi Sovereign Nami Sovereign like Rav Shimon, where it says no, Loi. Rav Shimon Sovereign like Rav Yossi, Veloi, Rav Yossi Sovereign like Rav Shimon. Rav Shimon holds like Rav Yossi, but Rav Yossi does not hold like Rav Shimon. Now Rav Yossi holds that, yes, he holds that b'gemara dvorav adam nitvas, that a person is nitpas b'gemara dvorav. However, he does not hold shelo yisnadav kederech hamisnadvim. He holds that even though the second statement is binding, however, in a case where it would nullify the neder, like in the case of a person wants to bring a mincha from Sa'irim, we'd say, Ein adam moitzi dvorav levatola. A person does not make a statement that would be batola, would render it irrelevant. And therefore we say that he meant to be in such a case, we interpret it to mean that he meant it in a way that it conforms as much as possible to his words, and it is still binding. So therefore, in this case over here, if you say it's Rav Yossi is the Tana, then we could say Korov, that it's Korov, that is Machal Kachem B'chutz, because we would say in such a case that he would, even though at this case, in this particular case, he did not designate it for a Korban Pesach at the time and was an animal, at the time was still an animal, we would interpret it to mean that they are being makdish the value of the meat to be used for a Korban. And therefore it would still be problematic, because it would seem to be, it would have the appearance of taking something that they were makdish that they gave it kedusha, kedusha's domim, to be used for a korban, and now they're eating it. So it would be problematic, and therefore it's mistaber to say that the Tana reporting this Ma'aseh Titus was Rabbi Yossi. Now we're discussing Titus Yisraimi. The Gemara talks further about him. Iboilu, Titus Yisraimi gava Rava hava oibal egreifen hava. Was he a chashuv person, a Talmud Chacham, or was he just a strong person, a powerful person, influential person? What was his status? So they said, we learned from the Bryce, we mentioned that they said, Il molei Titus out, if not for the fact you were Titus, then we would put you in Cherem. So what was his chashiva? Said he was a Talmud Chacham, or because he was a strong, powerful person, and that's why they didn't put him in Cherem. So Hashman, let's bring that right from the following Bryce. Zu Dorish, Titus Yisraimi, he darshan this Rosha, Ma'ro, Chanan Mishal V'azoi, Shemasu, Asmal Kedusha, Shem L'kiv Shaneish. When Nebuchadnezzar Roshi, he declared that people have to be bowed down to the idol, that if not, they will be killed. They refused to bow down to the idol, and they allowed themselves to be thrown into the Kishon Eish. Why did they do that? Where Rashi explains it, why didn't they darshan v'chai behem, that you don't have to be put to death when there's sekonos nefashos? Then you don't have to keep the mitzvahs. That's the way Rashi learns it. The Rishonim ask on Rashi that, but this is Avodah Zarah. It's Avodah Zarah, and it's Bavar Hesia, and therefore they would have a chiyuv of Kedushas Hashem, to be Meiser Nefesh, so not to be over the Isser of Avodah Zarah. So what is the question to begin with? Why were they Meiser Nefesh? They were mechuyev to be Meiser Nefesh. The Mashal answers that this was, number one, not before Hesia. It was not it was not an Isser before Hesia, and therefore it didn't have the chiyuv to be Meiser Nefesh for a violation of an Isser that is before Hesia. And secondly, it's going according to the Shita of Rabbi Shmuel, argues on Rabbi Eliezer and holds that even by Avodah Zarah we apply the din of v'chai behem, the heter of v'chai behem, and there would be therefore no chiyuv to be meiser nefesh. So the question is, what drasha did they make that they felt they were mechuyev al kiddush Hashem to be meiser nefesh? The other Rishonim, the Ri learns over here that the question is, why didn't they run away? Why didn't they run away like Daniel ran away? They should have run away, because he holds that they would be mechuyev to be meiser nefesh because it was for Hesia, it's Avodah Zarah. Rabbeinu Tam learns that the question is ma'ro, because it wasn't Avodah Zarah. It was only an idol that was made for the kavod of Nebuchadnezzar, but it wasn't mamash Avodah Zarah. So I'll call upon him. What is the drasha that they made, that they were meiser nefesh and they allowed themselves to be thrown into the Kishon Eish? So what was the nasu kal v'chaymer ba'asim mitzvardim? They made a kal v'chaymer from the case of the tzvardeya, that by the makkah of tzvardeya we see that the tzvardim, the frogs, they jumped into the ovens and they allowed themselves to be burnt. It says, the frogs, they have no mitzvah kiddush Hashem. And Ksibu, it says, by them, and it says the frogs will come, and they'll come into your houses, into your palaces, into your ovens, and your kneading bowls. So it specifies these kalim over here. Now, why does it specify these kalim? The frogs will come all over. Why Dafkit says in the kneading bowls, the kneading troughs, and the ovens. So, when are the kneading bowls next to the tanur? So we darshan the kneading bowls on the tanur. When are the kneading bowls next to the tanur? So, well, that's when you're going to bake the bread. The tanur is already heated up, it's fired up. You have the kneading bowls, and you're going to put the dough into the oven. So, therefore, it comes to teach you that the frogs came to the ovens when it was hot, when it was burning, and they were meiser nefesh. Kiddush is Hashem, that they came from the waters and they came to inhabit the Mitzrayim for the Makkah, for the purpose of the Makkah of Tzvarim, and they got themselves killed to jump into the ovens. So Anu Shematzuvin Kiddush Hashem Halachas Kama V'Kama. So certainly for us, when we have a mitzvah Kiddush Hashem, we should allow ourselves to be thrown into the ovens. So you see from here that Titus was a Talmud Chacham. Rabbi Yossi Bar Rabban Amar, another aspect of his chashivos, he says, Matal Maloi Lekiyas Shel Talmid Chachamaya. He would give a merchandise to Talmid Chachamim. He would give them merchandise to earn a parnasa, to do business and earn a parnasa. And so therefore he was mafarnes bekovad, he was mafarnes Talmid Chachamim. And Amar Rav Yechon Kol Matal Maloi Lekiyas Talmid Chachamim. And if a person does it, it's so great, this mitzvah of being mefarnes b'chavod Talmid Chachamim, of giving the merchandise to do business. The Vasalava is Yeshiv beYeshiva Shel Mala. He sits in the yeshiva of Shemayim. Shenemar ki betzel hachacham betzel hakasav. And the tzel, in the shadow of the shelter of Chachma, is the tzel of kesav, money. Meaning, if you use your money for this purpose, you'll be zeich to be in the yeshiva shel mala and have that chochma. Zok the Mishnah, Mokum shenagu lahadlik, it's an air, b'leila Yom Kippurim, a place where the minig is to light candles for Yom Kippur, for the covet of Yom Kippur. But that's a minig, then madlik, then you follow that minig and you light the candles. Mokum shenagu shaloi lahadlik, where the minig is not to, ein madlik, then you don't. But in any event, that you light in the shuls and the base management, and in dark alleys and for the sick people. But as far as in the houses, then it follows a different minig. So what's the reason why there's a minig to light and not to light? Whether the minig is to light or not to light, they both have the same intent. What is that? The Gemara explains. Amar Yeshua Dorash Rava. The pasuk says, "Va'amech kulam sadikim la'olam yishoretz." That your nation, they're all sadikim, they will inherit the land. So they're all sadikim. What does it mean? Bein shomer lahadlik or bein shomer shaloi lahadlik shneim lo niskaven l'davar echad. They have the same intent, meaning that on Yom Kippur tashmish hamitza is also. So they had safeguards in both cases. The safeguards so a person should not come to have relations with his wife. That he shouldn't come l'idei tashmish hamitza. So therefore, the ones who had the minig not to light the candles, it should be dark. And they should not see each other. There won't be nisayra for relations. The ones who had the minig to light, dafka to light it, is so also the same idea, because if it's lit, then it's also to have relations. So therefore, that'll be a safeguard so that they won't come lidei tashmi. So there's a light, it's not dark, they can't have relations, so it's a safeguard. Meaning, as the Tiferes Yisrael speaks out, really, you should, for a Kavod Yontif, for Kavod Yom Kippur, there should be a neres. But because of this reason, in the houses, then there's sometimes, some places, there was a minig not to light the candles. This that we make a bracha on the fire on the Neres Motzei Shabbos. Motzei Shabbos was the first creation of the fire. Adam Rishon created the fire Motzei Shabbos. That's when we make the bracha Borim Ha'Reish. He says that's correct, that's proper. That's what Rav Yochanan said. Taisa speaks out, he says that this is not considered Birchas HaNenin. If it would be a Birchas HaNenin, then you'd have to make the bracha every time you got benefit from the light. It's not considered a Birchas HaNenin because your whole goof does not get hana from it. So it's not like eating or drinking, but it's a Birchas HaShevach, it's a bracha of praise. Now, we make a bracha on the Ma'ayres every day because they are nischadish every day. At night we don't see it, and we see it in the morning. But Fire doesn't have a set period of time when it's not there. We can light the fire at any time. So it was only made for a certain specific time. It was instituted to make a bracha on the fire. So therefore, that as the Ran speaks out, therefore we make it dafka on the time where on Motzei Shabbos it's kveya at that time, since that's when the first fire came. It's instituted a specific time to make the Birchas HaShabbat. Ula was riding on a donkey and traveling. Rabbi Abba was to his right, traveling to his right. Rabbi Baruch Hana to his left. Rabbi Abba said to Ula, is it true that you said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, that you only make the bracha on the fire by Mareish on Motzei Shabbos? Why? Because that's when it was created, meaning that you don't say it on Motzei Yomi Kippurim. Now, even though there's a svara to say that you should, because it was also to light the fire on Yom Kippur, and now it becomes mutter. Now it's mutter that we should make the bracha b'Aramaish, but nevertheless you say that we don't, only on Motzei Shabbos, because that's when it was created. So he looked angrily at Rabbi Baruch Hana, because Rabbi Baruch Hana said that in the name of Ula, that he said that in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that it's only in Motzei Shabbos, and then but he looked angrily at him because he apparently does not agree with that. He holds that it should be in Motzei Shabbos as well. So Rabbi Baruch Hana said, I didn't say it referring to this, that Rabbi Yochanan said it in this case. I said it on the following. The Tana coming to Rabbi Yochanan, the Tana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shem ben Elazar Haimer, Yom Kippurim shechal yis b'Shabbos. If Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos, afamakim shamru shaloi lahadlik, even in a place where normally we say the minig is that normally on Yom Kippur you're not madlik, then there is. But if it's on Shabbos, madlik minei kavod Shabbos, you are madlik for kavod Shabbos. Rabbi Yochanan Basrei, Rabbi Yochanan answered, but he said that no, that he said that even when Yom Kippur falls on Shabbos, they don't allow it. So that's what I mentioned before, that that we say that you only light it on Shabbos, but not on Yom Kippur, even when Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos. Amalei Ada Tehei. Well, he said, let it be. Let it say, and he said to him that that's correct, that he did say that even if Yom Kippur falls out on Shabbos, that you don't, according to the minhag, that you don't light the candle, even on Shabbos you don't light it. Rabbi Yosef applied the following pasuk, Maim amukim eitza b'levish, that the eitza is like deep waters in the hearts of a man. V'ish tvuna yidlena, and a man who has tvuna, has been understanding, he'll be able to draw it out. What does that mean? That's referring to Ula. That's referring to Ula, that he understood that Rabbi Baruch Hana made a mistake, and according to the way that Rabbi Abba reported, Rabbi Baruch Hana made a mistake in what Rabbi Yochanan said, but he didn't say anything. V'ish tvuna yidlena, and the Ish Tvuna will draw it out, say Rabbi Baruch Hana. That is like Rabbi Baruch Hana that understood that Ula was upset, and the reason that he was upset, and therefore he explained it, that this is really what he meant.